Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see who we have in
There's
the
some new
chat.
people in the chat.
I know.
Hi,
Molly Smith looks new.
Hi, Molly. Welcome. And Jenny. I don't recognize Jenny. Hi,
Yeah.
Jenny.
Hello, DJ. You are from, wait. You're from France.
Oh, wow.
You're from France. I'm pretty sure. Please let me be right.
Thank you for tuning in.
I have someone who always greets me in German, but I don't think it's you. I think that's Stefan.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Tom. Hi, Alexa. Hi, Ari.
Hi, Royale Dominique. You look new too. I'm like trying to look at all the names that I don't remember.
I know Serena's cardigan for sure.
I need
to get on the level of Serena.
Oh my goodness. I search for this. This was at Zara. I had to fight for this cardigan. And hello. Oh my goodness. You guys are putting the high fours in the chat. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. We are here at a new time. Let's see. Yes, we already have 12 of you watching. Give you like 2 more seconds before we jump in.
Yeah.
Because this one's going to be it's going to be straight to the point.
Yeah.
I think.
Also, we're hoping we can kind of gauge whether or not the time change was a good idea or bad idea. Yeah. So we're trying to see if later is better for most people, or at least they can like jump in, towards the end or something.
That way it gives you guys time. And can you guys hear us fantastic? That was another thing. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Remember last time. So I'm like, we're gauging all those things for this new time because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. And it is Taco Tuesday. Yes. And hello, Mike Speed. Hello. I'm seeing, and Dole with Dave. I'm seeing all of you guys here.
And DJ Ducky. Hello.
Yes, DJ Ducky. We're seeing quite a bit of people.
Okay, so audio and video is great. Awesome.
All right. So we're just going to get started, guys. Let me make sure I have my little notes wherever my stickies went. But if you guys are new to the podcast, my name is Serena Ray, and this is Disney Daily. And we are doing this podcast because we're talking about all things Disney. And tonight's topic is about Imagineering and how we feel when we are inside the lands. So we ended up doing like research over the weekend, and we wanted to refresh ourselves. And we're also going to talk about our personal experience and how we think the Imagineering worked in some of the lands and the parks for us, and how some of them we were like, you kind of see it, you kind of don't. And I will state this. You can probably also tell by the different time periods that these like attractions were made. So we're going to kind of discuss that because once we like watched and researched things, you kind of see like maybe this is why it didn't work out, because I can see that, and why each of the parks feels like a different type of magic, but it's still amazing for each and every one of us. Yeah. So Disney Daily, oh my goodness. Yes. So we had our meeting last night, and I loved what we talked about. So we talked about both our parks, and we kind of focused on like what we liked, and Disney Daily and I both stated like what we loved and what we hated.
Yeah.
So if you want to start off, because I know you've like rewatched the Imagineering series, and we got so much information from that. So we're going to kind of like, I'm going to let Disney Daily take the floor, and then I'll chime in.
Well, yeah. So one of the things that we decided to rewatch over the weekend was the Imagineering story, which you guys can watch on Disney Plus. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a really great documentary series. I think it's about 6 episodes long. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it's 6 episodes. And it's about an hour long for each. And it really walks you through the timeline and the history of all of the Disney parks, pretty much. I'm going to kind of focus a little bit more on Disneyland because that's my home park. Yeah. But it was really interesting to see the evolution of Disneyland and how exactly it came to be, because those are things I don't think everyone thinks about when you go into the park. You don't go like, I wonder how this all got here. Like, you're just focused on having fun. You're focused on where you can find the closest like churro, or when you can go on Thunder Mountain. You're focused on those types of things. You're taking in all the sights and smells and sounds, but you're not really focusing on like, how did this get here? So what's really cool is when I was watching Disneyland, the idea of Disneyland came to Walt because he was talking about, he used to have Sundays, I think it was, with his daughters. Yeah. And he called it like family day. And he said he would take them to this little merry-go-round, and he started thinking, and that's exactly when the idea of Disneyland was born. And he was like, I want some place where I can take my daughters, and not just me, but like all families can take their kids. And there's a ton of rides. And it feels like you're a kid again. And you basically walk into another world. That's always what he kind of envisioned for Disneyland, which I just thought was really cool. So it all basically started because he wanted some place where he could take his daughters, which was, I thought, really, really, really cool. And so he had the idea of Disneyland, but it was a very wild dream. Like, just so you guys know, it wasn't easy. It wasn't like, oh yeah, it was, put in the perfect location. Anaheim, California at the time, which I live about 15, 20 minutes from Anaheim, California. And it used to be all orange groves and lemon groves. So think of like, you think of like these orange trees, tons and tons for miles and miles. And this is where he wanted to stick Disneyland. So this was like a pipe dream. So anytime he kind of brought it up, people were like, are you crazy? There's no highways. There's no high traffic. This was seen as like a very risky move. So I believe, and I'm going to look really quick to make sure I have the date right. Yeah. 1952 is when Walt formed WED. Was it called WED? I think it was called, the company. And WED was basically a bunch of Imagineers. And so for those of you who don't know what an Imagineer is, basically they are the people that build and construct and imagine, literally imagine what these different lands, what these different resorts, what these different rides are all going to look like. So they sit there and they craft it on the paper, and then they actually get up and do it as well. So some of them actually had an animating background. So they came from, the Disney movies. And then some of them came from like engineering. So that's why they put it Imagineer, imagination, engineering put together. So what was really cool is you kind of see the process. You see that money was tight, but you kind of had all of these people doing the first of its kind, not these things didn't really exist. Like animatronics were not really a thing. Disneyland kind of figured that out as they were going, which I just think is really cool. Like when you do anything, you have something to look to, you know what I mean?
They have like a blueprint.
You have like a blueprint now, like if you decide to start, for example, you start a business, there's always like, channels you can follow or people that can mentor you. You know what I'm saying? There's all these different tools and resources you can use. But this was like nothing that had ever really been done before. And I think one of the only other parks before this was like Knott's Berry Farm. But obviously Disney and Knott's Berry Farm are not there helping each other. you know what I mean? So it was like, it was really, really interesting. And so what stood out to me, so Disneyland opened in 1955, correct? 1955, July 17th, 1955, I believe Disneyland opened. And
you're doing good.
And it was a disaster. So just to kind of like tell you guys, it was televised, I believe they said by like 20 something networks, but they were not ready. Like they had to choose, I guess money was tight, and plumbers had kind of been on a little bit of a strike at the time.
It was either toilets or water fountains.
Yeah, they had to choose. Either they were going to have flowing water for the toilets or like the water fountains. So they chose the toilets. And so, people were getting kind of cranky. They ran out of food because they weren't expecting so many people to be there. And some of the rides weren't fully finished, and some of them kind of broke down. I forgot which one was the one that had an electrical problem.
I think it was teacups. They started saying like they were like, they're trying to weld it, and they were like trying to pick like what parts to like fix on the teacups.
Yeah, they were having so many difficulties.
Yeah, it was like, I think they also was accused of trying to do the Coca-Cola. Like people were saying they want them to buy.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
In the first one. And counterfeit tickets. I remember that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, how many of you in the chat knew about, it was called Black Sunday or something like that. So how many of you guys knew about opening day at Disneyland? Press 1 if you knew about this and how it was like a disaster. And 2, if you've never heard this story before, because I'm just curious how many of you are, familiar with this? Because I think, again, like when you think of Disney, you think of like imagination and magic and blah, blah, blah. And like,
and perfect.
And perfect. Yeah, because they have everything so down to a T now, right? But it was such a disaster. So anyways, so they kind of moved on. And then what I found interesting, and this is kind of what we're going to talk about too, is what kind of vibe do we get when we walk into the park? And now I can only speak for my 2 home parks. So one, a lot of you knew about the disaster. Okay. So yeah, it was quite the show. So anyway, so I kind of, when I walk into Disneyland, what you get, and this might just be me, but I get a very old school, historic, classic, traditional kind of feel. I get this way when I walk down Hollywood Boulevard, and I've felt that way one other time in New York, because I just thought about how many people have like walked where I've walked. Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
Like there's something in the air, and there's something that ties you to those historic roots, and you kind of feel that way when you walk down Main Street USA in particular. And then what's interesting is I go across to Disney California Adventure, and it has this like hip, modern, young, fresh vibe. Yeah. It's totally different. Totally different.
I feel the same way with Magic Kingdom. I think for me, my first park I visited was Epcot, and it was rainy.
Okay.
So it was like, I'm like, oh, it's rainy. Like, this is not what I envisioned. When you think of like the commercials, you think of the sun is shining, like everything is like amazing. Like, so I was just like, Epcot, I'm like, okay, we'll retry again at the next park. But when I walked into Magic Kingdom, and you have all those smells, like once you get on Main Street, you have the smell of the cookies and the candy, and you see the balloons, and then you stand right before you start walking, you see that beautiful castle. Yeah. And I really do. You feel like, wow, this is the castle from the movies I watch. So for me, that was my breathtaking moment. And I think that's like everyone's.
Yeah.
When you think about the parks. Yeah. Yes, you want to see your favorite rides and your movies and all that, but it's that first when you walk in. And I think they did a fantastic job, because they replicated that from like Disneyland to Disney World, because that's what they did for you guys. Yeah. They made sure it was kind of like a compass. Like if you stood in one spot, you would know where to go. Yeah. So it was just easy for you to maneuver. Yeah. And Magic Kingdom is like that as well. Because once you get to the center, you know where to go.
I thought that was interesting. They talked about how they made it like a spoke of a wheel. Yeah. So if you guys think about, a spoke of a wheel, right? There's a center and all these little pieces that come off of it. And that's the same concept that they used for all of the Disney parks. So the idea was once you got to the hub, the middle, you could go any direction, but you would always make your way back and you'd know where you were going. Right. So I think that was really interesting.
That was one of my favorite parts. And I think a part that stuck out to me, and I actually wrote it down, it was about their 4 levels of design. Oh, so what they did to make sure you felt like you were immersed. And I feel like that in a lot of ways. Like once I learned about the 4 levels, I'm like, wow, I never knew they thought about that. So I think the first one was they did like an aerial shot. Like how would it feel like if you're like up above? Then they did like studies, and they tried to make sure like how would you feel you just walking down the street? Like you're just walking past and you see it. Yeah. The next one was like when you're like right in front of whatever land or ride or building. And then the last one is the up close details. So they wanted you to, how would that person feel if they were like up close right in front of it? Like, is everything painted? Does it feel like, like the texture? Yeah. Does it feel like real wood? Like they really wanted it to be immersive, authentic. They wanted you to feel like wherever you thought you were going to be, that's where you were. And I think that was one of the main
Yeah.
things that stuck out to me, because you saw that over and over again with how they did the animatronics, how they designed the lands. When they talked about it, they did talk about their history and like different things, like when they was going to have like a hostile takeover, or when I think Paris didn't do that well financially. And they went through all these like different things with like, this was doing well. They were doing well in Hollywood studios. Paris was doing bad. They were telling you how they were learning about different cultures when they were spreading out.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see how they were constantly learning. And we can talk about that when we talk about some of the Disney news, because it kind of ties in to some of the rides that they're bringing from overseas to here.
Yeah.
At least I think.
Definitely. I like what Ari says, like, I like the principle of rides and attractions, the 2 grandparents, 2 parents, kid rules, so that everyone has something to enjoy. And that's, I think, what really was so pivotal to the idea of Disneyland, was like there was something for everyone. And in particular, they wanted adults to indulge in Disneyland and feel like they're kids. I think, like, Serena Ray, you've probably heard of this, and I'm sure you guys in the chat have heard of this as well, is like making fun of Disney adults. You know, that kind of culture where like you're too much if you're like, 30 years old and you enjoy Disneyland, and it's interesting that that's something that is so negative nowadays. Like, you can't be an adult who enjoys Disneyland, but that's the very essence of what they were trying to do when they made the park. I remember, I think it was one of the animators. And he was talking about how a parade was going on, and he looked across and he saw these 2 adults like smoking or something like that.
Yes,
and then the parade was passing, and the lights went down for a second, and he looked over again and he saw them dancing together in the back. So it's like the whole entire atmosphere, just seeing the parade and seeing these lively characters and the music and everything going on. This older couple that was there smoking their cigarettes are now waltzing together in the back, because it moved them, it changed them, they really, and I thought that was really beautiful, because again, I think there's so much hate thrown at adults that enjoyed Disneyland, this like behavior of you need to grow up kind of thing. And it's interesting because to a certain extent, of course, we all need to grow up, right? We can't be little kids forever. But when you're in Disneyland, I think that should change. I think you should definitely like unleash and let that little inner child come out, especially if you didn't even have a childhood, if you had to, grow up before you were ready. You know what I'm saying? What do you think, Serena?
I actually agree. But I mean, I think people forget, like, especially when that started trending, like, online, when they were like, oh, grown-ups, what did they say? They were like, oh, it's for kids. It's for kids to join. Like, I hate seeing people in line, these grown-ups. A lot of the things they added into the park was because they wanted you to stay in the park no matter what age.
Absolutely.
So that's why they put so much time into design, because that's what they did a lot of in Paris. Well, they said they spent a lot of money so they can stay. And they added wine.
And who do you think is going to observe that detail? You think kids are observing the detail?
Exactly.
No, adults are the ones.
Kind of crazy for people to like act like that, because they even went back and said, like, because we wanted the French over there to, feel like we're like trying to like be a part of their culture, because I think Eisner got egged.
Yeah, he did
when he first went there.
Yeah, at the opening.
So it wasn't like very welcoming, but they wanted to make sure that adults were able to join, because that was something that's important, because the grown-ups observe it. The grown-ups are the ones who make the decision on if their kids, they're buying a ticket. Yeah. They're going to say if their kid can watch the movie. Like, at the end of the day, if they can captivate the adult will keep coming. Yeah. The kid is just like, people say like, oh, my child is my like broke best friend. That's like,
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
No, I've never heard that. My broke best friend.
I have a few people who say like, yeah, my kid's my broke best friend. And I'm just like,
Oh, that's funny.
Interesting. But that's the truth. Like adults have to enjoy themselves too in order to keep coming. So
Well, interesting what you said about the culture, how Disneyland was planning to open. At first, it was called Euro Disney or Disney Euro. And what they did was they implemented alcohol over there because beverages, alcoholic beverages, adult beverages are very much a part of the culture. And that was something Disneyland had to change. They said they opened a certain way and they had to change that because that wasn't, they had to be, what do you call that? Adaptable. Is adaptable? They had to be able to change that and adapt. Yeah.
It was, and then too, they did things like they thought, oh, we'll keep the same price. Basically, from that episode, they didn't do their market research and they learned from it. They didn't take into account that the French love to drink wine with their meals, or they didn't take into account that you can't charge someone the same price for a ticket, overseas, because it's a different type of thing, because they knew like European individuals enjoyed the museums. So they tried to add like a whole bunch of museums. And it was interesting to see the steps that they were taking to be immersed in a culture and a society.
Yeah.
But it also tells you like how the little things matter. No one thought like a cup of wine would affect how people felt about a park. You don't think that. You don't think about the food. A lot of us don't think about like the little things that they do at each park to make it magical.
Yeah.
Just like people, like it's the little things like housekeeping, putting plushes in the window at the resorts, how kids go nuts over that, and how that can come back and someone will give a cast compliment like, I love that housekeeping would move my child's plushes around, so every time they came back they look for their plush and said, oh, it's like Toy Story, they were moving around. Like I would have people tell me like, oh, we can't wait to see where's Woody this time. And sometimes they'll leave little notes, or they'll make towels out of Mickey's. Or when you see Custodial making cute little characters on the ground, those are the little memorable moments that people remember the most. Or if your favorite character is like there doing something funny and like sees you from the next day and they're like, yeah, you over there. And the princess saying like, yes, I remember, things like that they were taking more into consideration. That you learned in this series, and also how they were making these animatronics look so real.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the biggest things, if you don't mind me talking about it really quick, was I found the whole process of the Haunted Mansion really interesting. So for those of you who don't know, the Haunted Mansion was the first project really after Walt passed away. Now, Walt had started the project, but it wasn't finished. So this was the first kind of really big thing that all of the Imagineers did after Walt's passing to try and make sure that his vision came to life. I just have to say, like, Imagineers are like, they're so cool. Like, they're so amazing. Like, just the ideas that they come up with, how they construct it, and then how they actually implement it, is beyond me. And it's everything that they do. But anyways, the Haunted Mansion, so like Serena Ray said, a lot of animatronics and stuff like that was like the first time they're really being implemented and used, and trying to make them look authentically real, like an actual human being. And you can see that even from Pirates, really trying to do those details, in the face and the hands and like everything. Like there's this one part, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. This one part in the Pirates of the Caribbean when you're going in this little tunnel and you look up and this guy's like foot is right there.
Yes, I know.
And I just remember like going, whoa, that looks like a real foot. It's so dirty on the bottom. It makes sense. He's running around without shoes. He's running around without shoes.
It looks dirty on the bottom.
But I was like, wow, I see a hairy, dirty foot. And I was like, wow, that looks real. And I remember as a kid, I thought it was real. As an adult, I'm obviously like, okay, that's not a real foot. But I was like, wow, the detail of just that, of a foot. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that's side note. But Haunted Mansion, what I want to talk about that was so really interesting was, for those of you who don't know, the Haunted Mansion was built. And it was just like an empty mansion. Like, and everyone, like the rumors were, and they still kind of circulate today, but not the same, is that Walt Disney was like frozen in there, or he was like buried in there. Like that was the rumor going on at the time.
Oh,
And
wow.
because it was just this empty building, right? So everyone was like, oh, Walt's in there, And so they were like, no. Walt's not in there, but we got to do something with this house. And like I said, Walt had already had in mind that he wanted something spooky, something kind of creepy. So obviously he decided, and in their blueprints, they decided that they wanted to keep the outside really nice, because the alternative was that they could make it this like distressed looking, building. But they went with this really nice building. And obviously, Haunted Mansion, I think, is one of the most immersive, intricate, well thought out designs, because you go into the foyer, right? And then all of a sudden there's like no windows, no doors. How are you going to get out? The room starts stretching, right?
Stretching.
The
stretching room.
And then it takes you down into like, you feel like you're in a cellar or something. You start walking through, and then you get on these little doom buggies. And what was really interesting was that they were talking about Madame Leota. Now, for those of you who don't maybe know which character is Madame Leota, that's the one who's in, what would you call her? Like kind of like the Enchantress. She's kind of like bringing to life all of the different objects. She's the big crystal ball, the head inside the crystal ball. And for those of you who don't know this is really cool. So Madame Leota was taken, like made after a real person. And her name actually was Leota.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is like, they were like, okay, we really want to bring this scene to life. So we want to use a real life person to mold, how this Madame Leota is going to look in this little crystal ball. So they used one of their Imagineers, Leota, and she had really high prominent cheekbones, as that's what they said, really drew them to her. So what they did is they put this like clay kind of material on her face to sculpt, right? So imagine like somebody just putting this big goop thing all over you. So they could get, the outline, the make of her face. They take that, and that's what's used as the little crystal ball, Madame Leota, that we see. But then what's even more interesting is they actually had her come into a dark room. It kind of like basically what they would use when you developed pictures, how you would go into a dark room. Basically, that was kind of the same thing. And they just filmed her from like the neck up, and she had to stay really still and recite the different sayings, which was, this was all like just happening kind of for the first time in the parks. And I think it was so cool that they were actually able to use one of their own to really make this happen.
I don't think people know how much like little clues, like when you look in the ride, that they're actually inspired by other Imagineers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, they did use her daughter. That's what I talked to Disney Daily about. That when they revamped the ride, they used her daughter because she looked so much like her. So people wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting too. But you never know, like the person you're looking at or the character, let's say character, you're looking at, how they're modeled after other Imagineers and how they put little things inside the ride. Yeah. And I think you have seen my live streams.
Me?
Right? Yeah.
Of course.
You've seen my live streams.
I think, of course.
A fun fact, and it was so funny. So you know who Jack and Milo is. So Tabitha's nephews.
Oh, yeah.
They were telling me, they were like, because their dad helped construct the ride, who's an engineer. And they were like, did you know, like for fun, they put little Lego stormtroopers in the wall? And I was like, what? And she was like, for fun, like when they were constructing it, they put little Legos in the wall. So when they were making it, they made like little things around them. So on the ride, in that ride, they all like had their own little Lego stormtrooper, like Lego, like Star Wars character that they put inside the ride to give that little piece of them to leave behind. So even if you move and do something else, you have that little piece of you like inside that ride. And I thought that was so cute. Yeah. When they were telling me that. And because at first I was like, okay. She's like, they play with Lego stormtroopers. And I was just like, oh, okay. That's fun. Yeah. And it was so amazing to see that. And you saw it inside the series, and I loved seeing when they were talking about Matterhorn.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
was so cute. And they were showing the wall with all the cast members, and they
Mhm.
asked one of the Imagineers, have you ever signed the wall? He's like, no, I wasn't technically, a cast member. And he got his face lit up when they asked him to sign the wall. And he
Mhm.
was just so happy, and it was so cute
Yeah.
because you hear all these like rumors like, oh, was it really a basketball court? Yes, the Imagineering story told on them. It was a
Yeah.
basketball court.
It
And you
wasn't what people think though.
no, it wasn't like a full court. Like they thought it was like a real, like probably basketball, that
Yeah.
NBA play on. But it was
Mhm.
cute. It was a
Mhm.
cute little break room, and it was something to see. Like, oh, this is how they pass their time. The
Yeah.
little things that they did.
Yeah. 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 Oh, what that kind of brings me to, I don't know, do we want to segue? Is that okay?
We
Should
can.
we? Okay. Well, I just wanted to talk about Matterhorn because, okay, so this kind of gets into like our issue that our main topic, I should say, which is, did the lands inside the park like measure up to not just the movies, but just like measure up in general, right? Like
Expectations that we had.
expectations. And for those of you who've never rode Matterhorn, I think it's equivalent to your guys's escape to is it Everest or something like that?
Expedition Everest.
With the Yeti thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So that's basically like our equivalent. So for those of you who are from Florida area or have only visited Walt Disney World, just to give you guys some perspective, Matterhorn is like the equivalent of that. Now, Matterhorn was a really cool ride. My issue is that, and this is what I mean, sometimes it could be done better or thought out a little bit more thoroughly. Matterhorn is really random. It is very random. It is just randomly placed. So when you walk into Disneyland, you go down Main Street. So I'm gonna give you guys can close your eyes and go on like a virtual tour right now. I'm gonna give you a little time. You're walking down Main Street, USA. You get to the statue of Walt and Mickey, and you kind of go around it. You start looking at the castle, and you head to your right, and it's like this little walkway. And on your right hand side is actually Pixie Hollow. But right in front of you is Matterhorn. But the thing is that Matterhorn doesn't really have anything around it to make you feel like you are stuck in the middle of the like Arctic. Do you know what I'm saying? Like It's just randomly placed there. And yeah, of course you get the story when you go on the ride, but that's all you really get. And it's randomly placed. Like I said, it's right next to Fantasyland, which has no real tie to Fantasyland. It's also right next to Finding Nemo submarine ride. So also kind of weird because as you're like standing in the queue, you're like looking over and you see like Finding Nemo, So it's like one of those where I'm not like hating on the ride per se. I'm just saying that this was one of those moments where I feel like it could have been like better placed, or they could have actually shaped a whole entire world around it, a whole entire land around it. Does that make sense? Yeah. They could have even stuck like a Frozen ride or so. Like, granted, Matterhorn was built years ago, so I understand that. Yeah. But like they could have thought ahead of time and placed it somewhere else, and then they could have built on that land because Frozen would have fit perfectly. Do you know what I'm saying?
Where is it located again in Disneyland? I mean, I've never been to Disneyland, but what area is Matterhorn?
That's what I'm saying. It's randomly placed.
Because that's what I'm like. I'm trying to think like
if I'm being honest with you, it's like the borderline of fantasy / tomorrow.
Oh,
it's literally like in this weird placement
where I'm trying to think from the video.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know I'm going to ask how many actually even know what I'm talking about. How many of you in the chat have been on Matterhorn and know what I'm talking about? Press 1. If you don't know what I'm talking about, press 2. I'm going to kind of wait because I want to know how many of you actually know what I'm talking about right now. And then you can kind of see what I mean in terms of like just randomly placed.
Yeah, because I've never been. So that's why I'm like, I'm trying to like remember parts of the movie because I'm remembering like, where is this at? But that is weird.
It is like, it's
weird. It's just a random mountain.
Okay. So actually there's quite a few that have actually seen it. Okay. So out of the people that have been there and have seen it and rode it, how many of you guys feel similar to what I'm saying is that it is just kind of randomly placed? And it is hard to kind of fully immerse yourself because it's not a land necessarily, you know, you're
Yeah.
just standing in a queue to get into a ride. And then once you're on the ride, of course, you know, you feel like the Yeti's coming after you, but it's just a random mountain.
Oh my. Because I'm like trying to think, because that's what it. I never knew that. I didn't know it was never inside a certain land. I thought at least
No,
it
it's
had
not in a designated land. That's why it's like it for me, if I'm looking at it in terms of like, you know, how well did they place this? You know, how much do I really feel like I am, you know, going into the Arctic and about to witness the abominable, I don't know if he's abominable snowman or Yeti. How much do I feel like that? And I don't with that section. So I wanted to kind of talk about it today because I was like, that's one of those things where I'm like, they could have really placed it somewhere differently, or at least, I don't know. I don't even know what they could have done differently other than, had it placed somewhere differently. And then they could have built upon it and then put other rides later on or made a whole entire land out of it.
Yeah, because that is so... I faintly remember that part. I just remember them talking about they wanted a thrill ride. Yeah. And they came up with that idea. But
yeah, that was one of the main ones. Yeah. I think it opened before Space Mountain, which was or maybe Space Mountain opened before. But I remember that was like one of the big ones because they wanted to appeal to older kids.
Yeah. I think that one opened first.
Matterhorn opened before.
I think. Space. Does anyone know in the chat?
Yeah.
Some of my Disney geniuses or historians. I think it opened first.
I was gonna say because my bread and butter is the movies. I'm not like a huge
and I haven't been to Disneyland, so I never really researched or looked into it. So that's very interesting to think about. But I'm like, why did they? I can't remember why they said they picked a Yeti.
So Matterhorn opened in 1959. So I'm going to look at Space Mountain. So remember 1959, everyone.
Okay. Random possible haunted man.
Oh yeah. Matterhorn was way before.
Yeah.
It says Space Mountain was 1977.
Yeah, I only say that because I remember it faintly. Was it first or second one? In one of the very early ones.
Yeah.
Because they started to describe how they have like all these different layers in Tomorrowland. But I'm like, they wanted a thrill ride. Yeah. But why did you pick a Yeti?
Yeah.
You know, they could have did something. Maybe that's too much tech. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like me just like my one little my one little thing that I hang up that I have in terms of like wasn't the best well thought out process, if that makes sense. But I want to hear, Serena Ray, you talk about Toy Story, and maybe I can kind of piggyback off of you with when they used to have a Bugs Land. But I kind of want to hear your whole take about Toy Story Land and the details that went into it and like what you think and all of that.
And you have to tell me about Bugs Land, because that was one of the things when I wanted to go to Disneyland and experience it. And last year I was like, we got to hurry up and go before they tear it out. Mm-hmm. And of course that didn't happen and it got torn out. But when you walk, I don't know how many people in the chat right now are Disneyland people. That way I could kind of like explain to you how it is. Because in Hollywood Studios, our first ride for Toy Story was Toy Story Mania. So you guys, I remember watching and you saw how they constructed Mr. Potato Head and how he interacts with people, how he can see the camera. He can do the facial, he can see the faces, and then they do the facial expressions and all that good stuff with him. And they talked about how they made the games. So I liked how they talked about that, but I don't know how many people remember.
Alexa's killing me. She's so funny. No shade.
Anyways, I love Toy Story Land, but what she's saying is very true. When they constructed Toy Story Land, it was supposed to be you as a toy in Andy's backyard. So when you walk in, you see like these giant like footprints on the ground, And it's really cool because they look like a kid's shoe. Like, like the Chucks we would wear like when we were younger, or like the regular gym shoes. You'll see like footprints. They used a lot of like building blocks to like give you that like preschool. It kind of
like
give you
Lego kind of thing.
Yeah, you remember the old style things like when you were in kindergarten, like those little things you connected. What are those called?
Yeah,
you will have the building
Legos,
blocks like
no?
They were like off-brand Legos. Is that nice to say?
Yeah,
because
okay.
they weren't Lego brand, but they were like the weird, like skinny ones that you guys connected. You guys gave me a name for that and all that good stuff. But they have like regular blocks. Then they have like games, like popular. Like if you go inside Toy Story Mania and you look on the ceiling, you'll see like Candyland. You'll see a Candyland board. You see like all these different boards. You'll see Monopoly cards throughout the queue.
Yeah.
A fun fact I was telling you guys when I was streaming, they had one of those the viewfinders. So they had like a little viewfinder for Disneyland where they showed some of the lands over in Disneyland. And then they had a viewfinder, I think it was for Peter Pan or something for Walt Disney World. So it was cute how they incorporated stuff from Disneyland.
Yeah.
And they bring it here and you could see those inside the queue. You saw different games when you're inside the queue. So that was our first thing any Toy Story before you walk in.
Can I add something to that really quick in terms of like, okay, Imagineering once again. So this is like, I've never witnessed Toy Story Land, but from this one detail, I was like, okay, they went all in. They went all in because for the longest time, and because I do Disney theories, people kind of know that, or you can probably know that by now. But did you know that we finally understand why Wheezy wheezes?
I knew you were
all because it is all because his box is Imagineers. They're so great. They finished the story without having the movie. It's inside the land. So sorry, I'm like, you guys are like, what are you talking about? So on the box, it says it's Wheezy's packaging, what he would come in if you bought him from a store. And it says, do not dunk in water or something like that, or do not use in water. And so from that, you can gather that Wheezy, he stopped working because obviously Andy's a little kid and he's going to bring all of his toys into the bathtub. We all did that as kids, right?
Yes.
And he dunked Wheezy, probably got too much water in the squeaker. And that's why Wheezy doesn't work anymore. Like, what? Like, we got the answer and it was like right in front of us in the parks. I think that's so cool.
Hold on, guys. All right. I put a link. I put the link to it because I thought that was so interesting. And they did put it right because after you did that, I went to look for it. And I'm like, it says it right there. Mm-hmm. It is so amazing. It's just the little things that you pay attention to. And I like, again, you can tell Toy Story Land, they really went through their 4 levels of design.
Yes.
Because when you get up close, it's all these different things. Once you walk close to that viewfinder, you see actual pictures of Disneyland. Yes, it says Disneyland on the, like, it's a giant, like, little, the little film that you put inside the viewfinder, but you actually see the pictures. So if you stand there in the queue, you can actually see pictures from Disneyland.
That's cool.
You actually see on the cards, they're the actual, like, cards that they recreated.
Yeah.
When you see our Mr. Potato Head in that ride, he actually talks back to you. Like, it's so many different things that they put in, like the colorful popsicle sticks outside where it makes it looks like, like you just got done eating a popsicle. So it looks like Andy was trying to make like a cute little wall. And then they have a checker wall that people like to take pictures in front of. They have like random toys in the grass, making it feel like, oh, he was trying to create this little area. And it's so, so, so cute. You really do feel like you're in a backyard. And honestly, it's no shade. in Toy Story Land. So you really do feel like you're a toy in the backyard because it's like it's no trees. Like I guess if they put trees, you would have been like, this isn't a backyard. Because everything is so like large.
That actually makes sense because if they put a tree, that would that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense.
It's crazy. Like, yes, I would love for it to be more shade, but they've been adding more umbrellas and trying to like toyify it. But it's like no shade. But I know why now. When you think about their levels of design, you can't put a normal sized tree in there. And where are you gonna find like a humongous tree?
Yeah.
Where would you find a humongous tree to put right in there? Oh, Tinker Toys. It was called Tinker Toys. Oh my goodness. Okay. But I see now why. Because even when you get on Slinky Dog, now they have like all these blocks and they have like Jessie is really huge.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like you're like a miniature toy compared to Jessie, Rex, and Woody, because he actually welcomes you into Toy Story Land. So you'll see him and he actually talks. He talks. He was like, "Hi guys, welcome to," he doesn't say it in that voice, but he welcomes you in a Toy Story Land. And it's really cute because he's like leaning on the sign and you'll see it. And you walk in and then you start seeing Jessie and Rex holding these little lights that looks like the little lights you get from like Target or something like that. So Toy Story Land, by far, in my opinion, displayed the most of being a movie that was able to convert to a land and made you feel like you were immersed in that land.
Yeah.
That's what I think done it the best.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And I was mad. I didn't see it in Imagineering Story. I don't think it was.
I don't think so. No.
The last
because that came like way later.
Yeah. They had Pandora in, I think, the last one. Yeah. Which was interesting to learn about too.
Yeah. Alexa said something. Do we think Woody's Roundup barbecue is still happening? So it's interesting that you say that because I don't know what it's like at Toy Story Land, but I was telling Serena Ray this yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I'm going to sound like such a hater. I'm not a hater, I promise. But our Frontierland is really not good. You walk in and you have the Thunder Mountain, and then you have like, it's called like the Golden Horseshoe or something like that. It's like a restaurant. And then you have like a shooting range, I guess, like a fake shooting range. And then that's it. And that's kind of Frontierland. And it's interesting that you brought up the barbecue because before, at least, you would kind of walk a little bit past Thunder Mountain and there used to be a Woody's Roundup section. And it was this huge tented, I believe it was even tented, maybe it wasn't, huge tented area where you had barbecue, it was serving barbecue food, and Woody and Jessie, Bullseye would all be there for meet and greets, and you'd have like, Woody's Roundup, like the little banjo band come out and play.
I wish I saw this.
And it was perfect. Like that's really, because everybody knows music really can elevate you to the next level in terms of immersing you, right? So that's why when you walk through different lands, there is different music playing. So it's like, that was like the little like so you got a feeling for like if you were in the Wild Wild West, right? And then they took it out to put in Galaxy's Edge. So I think that's why now Frontierland has become a little bit like of a sad corner. And yeah, it's unfortunate because it just doesn't, again, one of those sections that just doesn't transport me per se, unless I'm like getting on a ride. Like I'm getting on Thunder Mountain. I feel like I'm at the wildest ride in the wilderness. Like,
I know. That's my favorite.
That's when I actually feel like, oh, I'm a cowboy in the West or something. Like that's the only time I feel that way. And it's unfortunate because there's so many other great sections where I really feel like Toontown. I don't know if you guys have Toontown. Do you have Toontown?
No, they took out our Toontown to make the circus area. So they rebranded Toontown to be, what is that? Oh, guys, I'm drawing a blank. It's called Circus something, where they have Dumbo. So Dumbo was where I believe on like by pirates or something like that. They moved it over to the circus area, and they like have 2 Dumbos over there. They have Barnstormer, Storybook Circus. There we go.
Okay.
And the premise is they joined the circus. Goofy is like in the circus. It's more of a child area, so for smaller children, because Barnstormer is like for like the really small ones that can't get on any of the coasters, and that's really what they have. And I think they had like a water. It wasn't it like a splash area. Oh my goodness, you didn't like it. But they have like a little splash area, and they have a area where you now can a relaxation station.
Yeah.
Now for us.
Do you mind, Serena Ray, bringing up a Toontown picture from Disneyland?
Yes.
So this is one of the areas that, now I won't sound like a hater, actually really feels like you are going into an old school cartoon. You're going into the, Mickey Mouse's cartoon or Goofy's or Donald Duck's. And what's interesting is everything is like over exaggerated. You know how everything in cartoons is a little over the top and overdone.
I'm so jealous.
It's not realistic. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's supposed to imagination. So you walk in, all of these really brightly colored houses, and like that's a perfect example. And they have Minnie Mouse's house, and they have Mickey Mouse's house, and then they have Chip and Dale's like clubhouse, and you really feel, because it's made for like a chipmunk, and of course it's a little bit bigger for humans to get through, but you do feel like you're walking through where the chipmunks hang out. Look at that, and that little like car right there, like see how it's exaggerated cute. all of the windows. Like this is obviously not something you would see walking down the street, and I feel like they really did a great job with Toontown. And it's like some of the areas in Disneyland, and maybe it's because, like Serena Ray said in the beginning, is that, this park has been around since 55, like that's a long time. So some of the stuff, maybe they just weren't thinking really ahead of time. They weren't planning for such a successful future. Maybe they didn't even know how big Disney was going to get, Yeah, and it has a little Toontown with the fake trees in the background. So you think like trees are really there, but they're not. Yeah. There's a little play on Hollywood, the Hollywood sign. And I just think it's like such a well done area. And it's unfortunate, like I said, Frontierland just is not, doesn't measure up. And it's unfortunate because you lose that feeling of like I'm being transferred into another world.
I think it's so cute. See, that's another thing I've never got to experience that Disneyland has. So you guys have Toontown. They took it out from Walt Disney World. You guys have Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
They took it away from Walt Disney World. And it's kind of like, it's interesting to see like how, yes, your park is smaller, but how all these things are like kind of like now bleeding into each other, if you get what I mean, because you're talking about how Frontierland now feels so much smaller because they took it out for Galaxy's Edge, and you just don't feel like you're like in Frontierland anymore. Yeah. Because if I think about it, I don't know how I would like necessarily feel if they start cutting off some of our Frontierland. Like would Big Thunder Mountain being in that corner, and again, they're changing Splash, which is right next door, to Princess and the Frog, which it's cool. And it's still going to kind of give you that, Western, like in the bayou, like that feel. So it's going to be interesting. It's interesting to think about.
And see, our Splash Mountain is going to, I think, melt perfectly with the new theming because we have New Orleans Square, which is a really big area. It's a very big area, and it's a lot of little shops. Makes you feel like you're going down, New Orleans. I don't know what the major street is there. Is it New Orleans Street? But you feel like you're going down there. These are like very beautifully painted buildings. And then you have Pirates of the Caribbean, which feels like it fits. And then you also used to have Tiana walking around. So it really felt like that. And then the Haunted Mansion is also considered but it looks also very much themed, very much a part of New Orleans Square. And then right next to Haunted Mansion's exit is Splash Mountain. So Tiana is going to fit perfectly with the New Orleans theme because it just will it'll be a very huge section of the park. Yeah. New Orleans Square will just continue on and on and on.
I think that's cool though for you guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it works perfectly.
That's really cool. It's going to be interesting to see how it works with us, but I think it's going to work mainly because we have that Tom Sawyer's Island, like right there.
Yeah.
So it's like that like little island of like vegetation and looks like you're in a bayou kind of sort of anyways because you have the riverboat and it kind of has like those little historical like I don't know, like you feel like you're in that time period.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine them doing that if I was at Disneyland. I feel like though I don't really have that expectation though. Like you experience it, so it bothers you more.
It does bother me more. Yeah, for sure. Well, and if I'm looking at it, like again, we talked about in the very beginning, like adults are looking at the details. You know, adults are paying attention to something. And maybe that is also part of it. Maybe they felt like, you know what, like some of this stuff, like who cares? You know, like it's for the kids. The kids will get it. The kids will, you know, use their imagination and it won't be a big deal. But for someone that is very much like I visited the park a lot. So then you start to pick up on different things as you go. And I'm sure you feel the same way because you go so much. There are things that you didn't notice the first, second, you know, 100th time. And then you start to really look at things and, you know, and then you pick up on different things that you never did before.
Yeah. It's like when you go to the park so often you're like, oh, this wall was never this color. Like now, like, I don't know if they do that there at Disneyland, right? Like randomly change your walls to cute little designs or like you have a signature like photo wall. You know, like people on Instagram are like, oh, we love to take a picture in Disneyland, like in front of this, like this wall or this wall. I don't know. Maybe it's bigger at Disney World then.
I think it's bigger at me like, oh. Well, I think it's bigger at Disney World because Disneyland is like there's not a whole lot of changes that go on in Disneyland. Like there's not a whole lot of updating. I feel like Galaxy's Edge was like the biggest update that has like happened in a really long time. And they do a lot of refurbishments where they like close something down and they kind of do tweaks and, you know, fix the ride and maintenance stuff. But really big changes is like few and far between. I feel like that mostly happens across the way at DCA.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe there's a kind of a part to that because Disneyland is the OG original parks. They don't want to change it too much because of that history that, you know, we talked about and that old feeling. And maybe that's kind of why they don't want to add too much because people travel all over for the original Disneyland.
Yeah, that is very true. I just noticed that at Disney World, they started to try to make creative walls for like social media to keep attracting people our age. So they want people who are like avid on social media to be posting about it. Like, oh, look at the bubblegum wall or like, look at the purple wall. And they even started to make clothes around it. So that's really interesting. Like if you like, okay, I'm going to have to show you like some of the hashtags and show you because it's literally like random shapes. Like on the wall or like certain patterns and people just started to take pictures in front of it. So Disney social media started to notice like people are hashtagging purple wall and you'll see all these different photos in front of this wall. Yeah. And you'll see all these different photos. Like if you look at Disney walls or like walls of Disney and like different hashtags like that, you guys will start to see these different like photo spots that are like other than standing in front of the castle that people were starting to get excited about taking pictures of. Yeah. Which is so interesting because you always think of like, this is so random. We're starting to talk about this, but little things like that is what like the attention to detail. Like someone probably randomly said like, instead of like keep repainting the same wall that we walk past and nobody really goes in this area because the purple wall is right next to Tomorrowland Terrace. It's like a food area.
Yeah.
And it's like a corner where people rarely walk. You're just kind of like walking past. You're either getting food or you're walking past to go on a ride.
Yeah.
Like, why not paint it some like design? So whoever decided to paint it a design started a trend, and then they're now popping up in different areas in other parks as well. So Animal Kingdom, people are like looking for these walls with illustrations from like Lion King or Pandora, and they're taking pictures in front of it. And it keeps the individual inside the park longer. And for people who grew up in the park, it's another thing for you to do. It's something fun to do on your vacation. Like, oh, I saw so-and-so take a picture from the purple wall. Let's go take a picture when we're there. Like, it's something fun to do. And I like that it's like the little things. Again, something super small, doesn't cost them a lot of money. You just pay for the paint. And a whole bunch of people are going like crazy. Over.
You know what I noticed talking to you also is that it seems like Walt Disney World, like all the parks there, actually try to do more making lands that are of the movies. Whereas like when I think of Disneyland and DCA, there's not like a designated land to a movie. It's a very broad thing. And then they stick a bunch of rides and entertainment and food that fits that. So for example, in Disney California Adventure, the only thing that was there that was actual based on a movie was A Bug's Life. And then now they have the Pixar Pier, but it's very general. So everything that's on the Pixar Pier has to do with a Pixar movie, but there's not like a designated land to a movie. Does that make sense? Where it's like you guys have Toy Story Land, and it is everything that is based off of Toy Story, and you try to feel like they tried to make you feel like you are a toy. And it's just interesting because like we don't really have that designated area of a movie coming to life.
Only Galaxy for you.
Only Galaxy's Edge, I would say, is where they actually crafted a movie, or they crafted a land around a movie, if that makes sense.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, and so like the Pixar Pier, like again, it's cool because you have Incredicoaster, so you get a little bit of Incredibles. You have Toy Story Mania, so you have a little bit of Toy Story. They have now an Inside Out ride, so you have a little bit of Inside Out. They had a Coco show, so you had a little bit of Coco. So it's cool. I mean, you get everything in one place, but I think I would have liked to see more movies brought to life. And that's what they're doing right now is Bugs Life or Bugs Land is changing into Avenger Campus. So,
but is it really, but it's about a franchise though. If you think about it, it's about so many movies opposed to just like one series.
Yeah, but I would like for it to focus on like one specifically.
Yeah. That's why I'm like even thinking like, geez, they didn't even like, wow, I never thought about that. That was a good point.
Yeah, no, it's like you guys seem to have more lands dedicated.
Cars Land?
Cars Land. Sorry, yeah. No, but like few and far between. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
we have so many more. It's hard to.
They're very broad. Like we have Hollywood. I think we call it like Hollywood Lane or Hollywood Studios, and you walk down. It's supposed to be like you're in Hollywood. But like that's very broad. You know what I'm saying? And then you like take a little detour a little bit to the left, and you're like randomly have a Monsters Inc. ride. Like I don't know. It's just there could have been. I feel like they could have really brought the movies more so into the parks, if that makes sense.
I get it. Because just thinking about World's ratio to yours, it seems so like small. Like they have just like iconic classic rides.
Yeah.
And it lacks like that, like feeling like you're inside a movie.
Yeah.
Which I feel like adding.
I think you're right in terms of maybe it's just spacing is really what it comes down to. So they don't have a lot of space to work with now that I think about it.
But still, Bugs Life area was amazing.
It was really great. It was one of my favorite areas. But I also like A Bug's Life is one of my top 5 Pixar movies. So like people probably didn't feel the same way as me. I was like, no, why is it so weak? I loved it. I was so into it. I loved A Bug's Life.
I mean, I've never experienced it, and I was doing the same thing because I was screaming, "Why is it going?" I was like, I like Marvel, but still, can you guys figure somewhere else? Like,
I like Marvel too, but like I
don't
feel
take
like
it.
if they just did it because that's what's relevant right now. It's modern.
Yeah,
They can take advantage of the market. They can sell a bunch of merchandise there.
most definitely.
And they already took out Hollywood Tower of Terror and they put in event Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. So they already changed the ride into a Marvel oriented ride. So then that is an easy introduction to a whole entire land.
Yeah. And when you think about it, they're going to be doing so many like series backstories on characters. Like, look at WandaVision, how popular that is currently. People are waiting now for Falcon and Winter Soldier, or is it Winter Soldier and Falcon?
That's
however
the next
you
one.
say it. They're waiting for Loki. That's going to be coming out. They have so many like series that they're like dishing out. So I get it.
I get it too.
I do. I get it. But still, it's kind of like...
It's funny because this is one of those areas where I'm like, no, I want the old. Keep the old. And I don't want the new. But I'm not going to be upset about it, though, because I'm sure once I experience it, I'm going to be like, oh, wow. She's going to totally change my mind.
This is so amazing, guys. 10 out of 10. She's going to act like Alexa. 10 out of 10. Most definitely recommend. But that is very interesting to think about. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm like thinking, because I'm thinking about like how many like lands we have and all the stuff. But I mean, trying to think in our lands now.
Oh, you were going to talk about Pandora.
Yes, Pandora was a big thing we were going to talk about. I did watch the series about it. And when you think about all the research and work they put into Pandora, I like it and I appreciate it. And it fits. I think my thing was it just fits so well into Animal Kingdom. Yeah. Like, it fits too well. Like, I don't know. It's so weird to say, like, yes, like, maybe because, like, you really can't go at night. Now you can. They extended the hours. Yeah. But it was at night where the land shines the most. Because...
So wait, for someone like me, is this area, like a whole entire area, designated to Avatar movie? Or is it just, like, a ride?
It's designated to the Avatar movie.
See, that's what I mean. Again, you guys have a whole...
I know, it's 2 rides, and they have a quick service and a store. So when you go in there, like during the day, it's like, okay, yeah, you see vegetation, you see all that stuff. You're like, okay, I've been seeing vegetation in this whole park with the animals and everything. But it's at night when you're walking on that bridge and then the ground lights up and you see everything glow. You see like that big alien plant that like shoots out mist. And you used to be able to touch it. So when you touched it, it glowed and everything. That was when Pandora shined. That's when you felt like you were part of the Na'vi. You felt like, oh my goodness, like I am one of them in the movie. Because you remember the scenes where you see the little things that look like jellyfish. That's my favorite part, by the way. So you see them floating. You experience that more so at night. You have like different areas lit up. And so once you went on the ride, you're at night, you're walking through and you're like, oh, you hear the music. They had actual people out there drumming. They had like little areas playing the music. They had a guy in the little robot suit. I guess you see in the movies when they're like the guys are in the robot suit. They had them walking around, and they actually trained the cast members in that area about the conservation fund for the Na'vi and all that information. They were spitting out all this like Avatar knowledge. So they were heavily trained to make you feel like you were in this movie. You were in this area, like this is what they're doing. And when they talk about conservation for the animals, they keep in character of the movie. Yeah. So that is like something I thought was amazing. During the day, it's like, meh. It's like, oh, it's cool. You see the giant rock that you can see from outside the park. Yeah. But at night, when you see the waterfall going and you see all of it lit up, is where it shines the most. Yeah. And in I think my favorite part too is when you go on the little river ride, you see a humongous avatar, like a Navi
Oh, that's
person, and
cool.
she sings and she's singing, and it's so cool. And you can see the little fish, and you actually feel like you're in this little river ride and you're experiencing it. That one's my favorite. Everyone loves Flight of Passage because you put your glasses on, you feel like you're connecting to your banshee
Hmm.
and your avatar. They change your face up on the little camera, whatever. But I think Pandora at night for me is where they shine the most.
Hmm.
When you think about how much work they put into that animatronic, it's honestly like amazing and scary
Yeah.
because it's like, oh my goodness, like all that is in like this little thing. So that's why when it malfunctions, I'm like, and people are like complaining, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it's broken. Or like, they're like, she's not singing or she's not moving. One little thing, like, it can just be a little wire loose that can turn the whole machine off. But it's amazing that they
Hmm.
were able to create that, how realistic she looks,
Yeah.
how huge they are. And it's just like, not in a million years would I have ever thought, like, I don't know, I couldn't create it.
Yeah.
I could probably help with the idea, but
Yeah.
never could create something like that. And it gives you a greater sense when you think about it, a greater
Mhm.
appreciation when you're on the ride.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. I
She's
got to
missing a
experience
toe.
it.
That was so random.
Uh,
I never looked at her feet. So
I guess before we move along to our last topic, just want to hear from you guys in the chat. Which is your favorite land? Yeah, I just kind of want to know, like, what was your favorite land when you visited? What do you think they did the best job on? They really like all details, everything. You felt like you had, left planet Earth for a second and you went into another area, another land.
so go
Animal
ahead.
Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom is my favorite park. It most definitely is on Animal Kingdom. You can tell how much work they put into it.
My favorite land is Mermaid Lagoon in Tokyo Disney Sea. It's so immersive and amazing. I am so jealous.
Me too.
Ugh, that
It's
sounds
on my bucket list.
amazing. Holy moly. Pandora, Galaxy's Edge. They did a really good job with Galaxy's Edge. It was very, very immersive. And they all are talking in the same kind of lingo. They all have like just Disney doing Disney, all the uniforms down to a T.
You guys already know what side I like. The clean side. I'm sorry. The Rebels, it was just like, come on. Like, it's not nice what they do to them. Like, it's always like dirty. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with my rant. I'm done with my rant.
It's interesting, Animal Kingdom, because I see Animal Kingdom just for a little bit of like interesting fact for you guys. So if you do end up watching the Imagineering story, one of the biggest things, and Serena Ray and I were just talking about it, was when they were actually building Magic Kingdom, because Magic Kingdom's the one with all of the animals, correct? Serena? Animal Kingdom?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what was I calling it? Magic Kingdom?
It's
Animal
okay.
Kingdom. It's a magical
it's a kingdom. It's so many.
It's a kingdom.
So many kingdoms.
When they were making Animal Kingdom, because obviously one of the biggest concerns is like animal safety, and making sure animals like that, wild animals, like lions and hippos and rhinoceroses and giraffes and all of that. Is this somewhere that they're going to live and they can be okay? And that you have all these people coming and looking at them all the time? And which I think is a legitimate question, especially back then. Now that I've watched stuff like Blackfish on, SeaWorld, that is something that you need to consider, because anytime you have profit with animals, animals tend to lose out on that. So what's interesting is that they brought in Jane Goodall. So for those, I'm going to be mad at you guys in the chat if you don't know who Jane Goodall is, but Jane Goodall is, famously known worldwide for her studies with chimpanzees in particular.
Yeah.
She's a big conservationist. And so they brought her in while they were constructing Animal Kingdom to basically kind of like get her expertise, her opinion, her blessing, kind of. And all of the things that they did to make sure that the animals were like, taken care of, and that they mocked their natural environment as much as possible. But you still had the element of, which is like, I guess the goal is ultimately that people develop a love and an appreciation for wildlife.
Yeah.
That's like the goal. And she was really pivotal in that, because for someone like Jane Goodall to like give you a big check mark and be like, yes, you're trying to do the right thing, it was like a really big deal.
It's also funny when you think about it, how people don't think or know like about the conservation fund that they do all throughout Animal Kingdom, and all the money goes directly back to the animals. And I remember even being at work and how our main focus, they did so many different initiatives for us to promote the conservation fund. It was important to promote the conservation fund. And it's something that's done throughout Animal Kingdom. And they have like little like things during April for Earth Day. And another fun fact that some people don't know, they actually imported different vegetation to help with the animals being there. So they did research on what trees, like that's why Animal Kingdom is the hotter park. It attracts more heat because of the vegetation that they put in there.
Yeah.
And they do such a good job with keeping the animals like in certain areas. And they even said throughout the like every day, they do stuff to keep them active. So they don't feed them in the same spot. They still make them go out and search for it, which I thought that was, because when you think about it, like I think about the zoo where you see them, all the animals are huddled by the door. They all huddle by the door because they know that person that looked like us, that little weird thing that got them in this like weird area, they bring food. And this is the area that they open, and they either like, I think of penguins at the Detroit Zoo where they're all like lined up by the door and they dump the fish out and they all go crazy because they know that person is going to bring food. But they hide it in different areas for them to stay active, for them to still feel like they're going out to hunt.
Yeah.
Because when you're on the safari, they're actually out gazing. Like they're actually doing things like animals do. And they're in a relaxed environment. I like that when you're also on that safari too. If an animal's like right in front of your car, you got to wait. They don't honk the horn. They let the animal be an animal. And I like that. And I appreciate that a lot with Animal Kingdom. And I think that is why it became my favorite part. Because you can tell the animals are treated well. And I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's always important. So should we move along to news? Some quick news, not long.
We are going to do like the last week. We talked about doing the last 10 minutes, like some Disney news from the last week. You don't feel as guilty going to Animal Kingdom as you do the zoo? Yeah, no, I don't. And it's other things they do too for people to learn about the animals that I like. They educate you. So it's not you viewing the animal just, like, oh, I saw a kangaroo. Oh, I saw, like people say, oh, I went to the zoo. I want to see the elephants today. No, they teach you about the different elements. Elephants, not elements. They teach you about the different animals like elephants and give you that rich history in a fun way. So I like that. But we're going to Disney news before I get sidetracked again. We'll start at Disney World. Everyone knows the most recent news. Let me make sure I'm still on for last. Yeah. So the most recent news is that Ratatouille is opening up for us in October. It is going to be opening up for the 50th anniversary. And that is going to be, that's the same like anniversary date for Epcot too. So that was interesting. So I think Epcot and Magic Kingdom both was open on October 1st. Pretty sure. Yes, I'm not second guessing myself. I know it was. They're just different ages. So that is going to be a lot of fun for the celebration. And I know like some people were just like expecting it to open up during Memorial Day. But when you kind of like think about the placement,
Yeah.
and everything else, it's better to open it up for the celebration because that's when people are going to be down there celebrating anyways. And
Mhm.
they're adding so many new things for the 50th to Epcot as well. So they're doing something special with the lighting on Spaceship Earth that I hear is going to actually stay well past the celebration. So that is very, very interesting. I'm excited for this area to open because it's going to have like, I think it's the first ever on property food area that's a quick service and a table service.
Mm.
So you have that option. So you can have a waiter wait on you for the crepes and whatever else they're offering in that restaurant area. But you can also do it as a quick service where you just go up to the counter, pay, and leave. So that is going to be very interesting to see. And I'm super excited for it. On anniversary news, they are installing some more decorative pieces that's in
Mm.
iridescent. So you guys probably saw like that cute little ribbons they're putting on the side of the castles, like in a cute little iridescent area with that little iridescent feel. So that's amazing. And they did block off a few areas like in front of the castle already. So I'm assuming that is where the arches is going to be. That's going to have the big 50th. So I don't know. It might just be extensions to that, and they're just gonna place it on the castle, or it's gonna be like right in front, like it is
Yeah.
a big arch. So it was good to see those things being added. And I think we have one more for Disney. Yes, we do. Because the other thing for Disney World, which is a big one, is the mobile it's a Disney Magic mobile service. So this is going to be a way for you guys to like go into the park, ding into the park. It's essentially Apple Wallet, the Apple Wallet app, and it's only for iPhones right now. So you can still use your Magic Band. I have a million Magic Bands. So do not start freaking out because when they first started talking about this service, like people were like, freaking out because they have so many Magic Bands and they love Magic Bands and they appreciate it. But do you have an Apple Watch?
Do
Disney?
I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So like people like you, I don't have an Apple Watch. I keep thinking about it going back and forth.
Mhm.
Your Apple Watch, like I know sometimes you probably forget you have it on. Like I've seen so many people like tap their Apple Watch thinking it's their Magic Band. And that was one of, I know, like people's complaints that they have to switch wrists and they kind of forget. And the Magic Band is kind of like, you got to take your watch off to use the Magic Band, basically. It's one of
Okay.
those things where if you have a dominant hand that you're always tapping already, you're going to forget. So, like when I would wear a bracelet, if I forget to take my Magic Band off, I'm tapping my Pandora bracelet because I'm thinking, like, in my head, like, this is my dominant hand. And if I'm like on the go, like going, you're not thinking. So, essentially, this is not going to be able to be used for Apple Watch users as well as like any Apple user. So you can use your phone, your Apple Watch. You should be able to get into the park and you can kind of like interchange. So if your Apple Watch dies or your phone dies, you can still have your Magic Band and tap in and you should have no problem. So that is something that's very interesting. I guess they already tested it if you think about it because they let you check into your room with your phone already.
Oh,
So the resorts already let you use your phone to tap into your room and open it. So
that's
now
cool.
that's I think that's good. It's another feature to make stuff less of a hassle when you're on vacation, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. I think that's the main thing for Disney World news for last week.
Yeah.
The app was the biggest thing.
Yeah. And Disneyland, I'm going to keep it very brief because I think the biggest thing is that, as you guys have known, Disneyland's been shut for a while now. So they had started opening part of Disney California Adventure, like the Buena Vista Street. I want to say like a couple months ago. I think it's been like 2 months or so now. And they're opening back the Disneyland park supposedly April 1st is what I remember reading. And they are only doing 15% capacity. So I think it's smart. Obviously, I think it's smart that they're opening up the parks. And I've heard and I've seen that the employees are being like retrained, probably retrained in regards to like COVID-19 protocol. And I think it'll be fine if they kind of keep it at 15% and they don't, try to like move it up too quickly. I can see where you can get into some problems again. I heard, and I don't know if this is true. Can't imagine it's true, but that they're only going to be taking California residents. I don't think that's true.
Oh, it's true.
It is?
Yeah, they said right now they're gonna they want the residents to be the test dummy.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Because let's just say it. They're like the test dummy into seeing like how many people, the demand for the residents first, because you have to remember whatever the parks also like made a deal with the government too. Like a lot of times that's why you're able to get like an annual pass discounted if you're a resident, like in the state of Florida. I know for us, I don't know if it's like that for you guys, if you get a discount on the annual pass where you get that like monthly thing. And
I don't think you get a discount.
They give us a ticket discount because they have like some kind of Florida special for us.
Okay.
That they give for residents, because it's kind of like the thank you. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember the like technical legal term of whatever this is, but it was because like that was their thank you, and that's how the theme parks like give back, because Universal does it here too. They have like special days where they do specials for Florida residents. Yeah. And so I think too, California doesn't want a lot of people flying from different states.
Yeah,
and Disney doesn't want that either. Like a whole bunch of people flying from these different states, kind of like it'll just be too much at the moment.
Yeah. Well, there's a ton of people in California, so there'll be enough people coming to the parks no matter what. So,
and your parks are smaller. So that's why
they are
too.
Smaller.
Mm-hmm. They're smaller. I can just see it being so overwhelmed with so many people trying to come in.
It already was overwhelmed. It looked like I follow like a Disneyland Resort news page, and they took pictures of California Adventure the other night, and it was pretty crowded. It was pretty bad. So,
was it for that food tasting festival?
I don't know. It was in the Hollywood studio section, and it was Hollywood Land. It was very, very, very busy. So I don't know. We will see. But I don't think right now they're limiting how many people like by very much. So that's why that looked a little crazy, a little overpopulated. But if they're actually doing and the parks are open and everything's full service, I could see it obviously looking a lot less crowded and So
and people tend to like, I don't know. You haven't been to the parks since this. People tend to like, we used to call it clump in one area. It's like weird. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know why, like certain areas in the park, it'll have like no one there. And then you'll look and you're like, it's so many people in this park. It's like people clump in one area. It's so weird, especially when you're shopping. It's like a crowd of people, and you walk past and no one's like in other areas.
Yeah.
So it could be one of those situations too. And I find it very weird because like right now you think people will be spreading out.
Yeah.
But they're just like, no, what's over here? Is that a new ear? And then everyone just like is like standing there, and you're like trying to go through a sea of people. And then it's like, wait, you guys can go on a ride, take turns in this area. It's quite weird.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for Disney news. Oh, Blizzard Beach open. So you guys can look forward to me going to Blizzard Beach probably this week. But yeah, the water parks are opening back up. It's going to be interesting. I have to look up their mask policy. Because I think Universal, you don't gotta wear a mask in most of the areas because you're in the water.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how the water parks are gonna differ from the theme parks. But that is like the only thing that they kind of like opened up now that's like kind of different but still the same. Yeah. I hear a lot of people have fun with it, but
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very interesting. But yes, guys, before we go,
Two big announcements.
yes,
Two big announcements.
we can't forget. We can't forget. So first announcement, should we talk about the giveaway or our special guest?
You can do giveaway, and then I'll talk about special guests.
Okay, so remember, guys, I talked about a giveaway. Remember when I said you had to comment on a certain video for the podcast? I don't know if you guys remember. And then I said, I know. And then I said I was going to pick a random person. I don't even know if the person's in the chat. But these are the items. So it was a magnet from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Oh, I think the person is in the chat that won. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I see someone
yay!
saying hi. And then it was a cute little pin from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. This is one of my favorite rides.
Should I do a drum roll?
So for this, when I told you guys, I think it was episode 3. The winner, when I did the little randomizer, was Charisse. Someone said hi to Charisse in the chat, so I'm assuming. I can't see your comment, but Charisse, you won.
Congratulations, Charisse.
It's hard for me to say, but these are your 2 items. Oh my goodness. And I love when you guys interact. You guys love comments. That was amazing. So we have fun doing the giveaway, guys. And it's honestly so easy. Like, we don't make it super hard. You don't got to go find a million things. Yes. You won. You won. She's like, me? Yes, you won. We don't try to make it hard, and we had so much fun doing it. We decided to do it for our special guest during that podcast. So you guys, Disney Daily is going to tell you guys the rules because it's going to be on her channel this time.
Yes.
And are you going to tell them the special guest, or are we going to make them wait?
I'm going to tell them because you guys are here. So, thank you for being here and being here to the end of the show. And, or if you came late, thanks for jumping in. Serena Ray and I really appreciate it, especially since we're playing with the times right now. We're not sure what the best time is. And we're trying to accommodate everyone. We really want as many people who enjoy Disney to be here. But yeah, so we're going to be doing a second giveaway. The second giveaway is going to be on my channel. And there are 2 rules to my giveaway. The first rule is that you have to be in attendance at the next show. So you have to be in the chat. You need to say that you're in the chat. You don't have to say hey, it's so-and-so, I'm here. I'll see that, because we want you to focus on the guest, but I will see that you have commented. And Serena actually probably will be taking down the names. Because I'll be trying to conduct and bring us, from here to here to here. So we're going to write down, make sure you're there. You were in the chat. And then the second rule is going to be once the video is actually up, you comment in the section your favorite part of the interview. So that'll be the second part. So if you do the 2 steps, then you get an entry. If you just do one step, then then you, unfortunately, you won't get an entry. So you have to do the 2 steps. And I'm pretty sure I'm either going to do a gift card to Shop Disney, or I'm going to do something else. I haven't decided yet. I'm still thinking, but I will obviously I'll ship that right to your house. And are we ready for the special guest?
Hold on. Gotta do drum roll.
Okay, so our first special guest that is going to be next week is going to be Mr. Isaac Carlson, who was previously known as AKA Whatso Video. That was before he actually, I'm going to ask him about it. He went through a rebranding, and now that's the name of his channel, is his actual name. It used to be Whatso Videos. So if you guys know Whatso Videos, that is who we're having on the channel next week. If you don't know who he is, to give you a little intro really quick, because you guys are here and I want you to check him out. He does a lot of kind of similar things to me. He's very much he loves theories. He talks about not just Disney, but Pixar and DreamWorks. He's kind of all over the place in terms of what movies he focuses on. He's been doing this for a while. He's a YouTube content creator. He also has a podcast where he talks to a lot of interesting individuals. And we're really excited to have him. Honestly, I feel like this is going to be such a really great conversation. And especially for those of you out there that want to do something, Disney oriented, you know, and you want to have like, I just feel like this is the person to talk to.
Can you guys see the picture?
Can you guys see?
I don't know. I mean, it's taking my whole screen. That's why I'm asking you guys.
Yeah, he's great. He's awesome. We'll be talking about it as you know it starts to lead up to the week. But yeah, that is our special guest. We have another special guest as well that will be coming up actually towards the end of April. Very, very different personalities, very, very different things that they do. The other one is actually I'm all excited with my little sneak peeks, but the other one, she's a really well-known cosplayer. So I think we're going to get some really cool information from her.
And it's very interesting. That one is going to be very interesting, especially for the Dapper Day people. Whoever loves like Dapper Day and really into
or Disney bounding, like dressing up, like
she's deep into that. And it's really, I have an appreciation for people who can look at a character and then go out and try to recreate it. Because then you're like, oh, I can see this outfit, this outfit. I don't have the eye for that. I'm not going to lie. It'll take me forever to do it. And I'm like, I'm in awe when people say, I sew my own clothes to look exactly like the character. And some of these people, like, the outfits are amazing. It was a girl who, during the opening of the parks again, Disney Daily, she dressed up as Aurora, and she actually had her dress turned from pink to blue.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Her hair was just like hers. It was her dress was like so like really it was really pretty. It was like iridescent, and it was like it just blended so well. And she was telling people how she made it, and I was just like, I could never. I am jealous. Like it's just like they can turn into
I'm excited for you guys. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm excited for you guys to hear this, because if you're interested in doing cosplay or you're interested in making your own stuff, like, I'm just excited for you to hear these conversations, because I really believe at my heart that anyone can follow their dreams and your dreams can come true. So I really, truly believe that if you set your mind to it and you're all in, and sometimes like for someone like me, I'm my worst enemy. So if you could get past the self-sabotaging, I really, truly believe anyone's dream can come true. So I'm really excited for you guys to be inspired and hear their stories. And I think we can leave it on that note.
Yes. And hold on. The girl who did Lumiere, oh my gosh, she needed an Oscar. I don't even know if they do that for Oscars or not Grammys. I know better than that. Academy Award. She needed something. Disney Daily should have saw it. She looked just like him. She had her hands look like candlesticks, like actual like foam things she made.
That's so cool. I love that.
Her whole, it was like breathtaking. But yes, guys, those are two things we're going to end with. You know who our special guest for next week is?
Yeah.
Is Isaac. So make sure you guys tune in because he's going to be sharing so much of his story with each and every one of us. So it's going to be amazing to see how he got started, his love for the theme parks, because if you visit his Instagram, I was looking at his Instagram, he loves the theme parks so much. And that is, you know, everyone has that special theme park story where you fell in love. We all have that Disney park moment. And if you have not had your Disney park moment yet, it's okay. You're going to have it. It's going to be magical. And you're going to be like, wow, like I will never forget this day. And then when you go to the parks, you'll start to get into that like rhythm of probably being like near Disney Daily. I don't know. Can you remember where you buy certain things?
When or what?
Yeah, like when you buy a certain thing, like can you look back at it? Yeah, like it's something like with Disney. Like when you buy something from a park, I can remember where I got a pair of ears. I think all my pairs of ears, I remember what park I got it at.
Yeah.
I don't know why I remember it. It's kind of random and weird, but that's because it was something emotional attachment. I remember my first pair, And then I remember like certain charms, like if I have a bracelet, I'll say, "Oh, I got this at Disney Springs because this is the thing I went through to get it." Or
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see, like, even from his Instagram and some of his videos, his love of the parks,
Mhm.
because he does a lot of things we do, especially the pin trading. I liked his
Mhm.
lanyard. So
Mhm.
I'm very curious to ask him about his hobbies and those things and for us to
Yeah.
learn more about him.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope you learned something new. It was very
I
chill and relaxed. And I love learning from you guys too, because you guys were telling us what your favorite parks were and giving me all these interesting, like, little memories.
Mhm.
And Jose dropped in there. I don't know if you saw Jose's comment, Disney Daily,
Mhm.
about the Tiki Room birds. When
No, I
they're
don't think so.
asking about where Rosita is, like if you remember in the Tiki Birds, they asked like
Mhm.
where Rosita, and then
Mhm.
on Big Thunder Mountain, they have a bird cage with her name on it.
Oh, how funny. I did not
They
catch that.
because they can't find her. They were like, "Oh, we're looking for Rosita," and
Cute.
Jose was like, "I was, on my last trip. I finally saw a Big Thunder Mountain, that
Yeah.
cage with her name on it." So, Imagineering is
Yeah.
deep. They put a lot of
Mhm.
consideration and thought into it, and they're able to, be
Mhm.
a kid. So they're able to live
Yeah.
out their dreams constantly, so we can like feel like that kid again.
Mhm.
So again, Serena does long, drawn out goodbyes, but thank you guys so much
Thank you guys.
um, for tuning in. We had so much fun, and I cannot
Yeah.
wait to see you guys next week on Disney Daily's channel. So make sure you head to her channel, hit the subscribe button, because again, we're gonna be with Isaac, and I'm gonna be talking about this every single day when I stream. You guys better be there. You guys better be there, and I want you
And we
guys as
have the
soon as
giveaway too. We have
yes,
the
the
giveaway,
giveaway
so got to
too.
be there.
And I expect for you guys to share that out. So everyone who was in the stream today, so once she shares that, share out the stream for Isaac on your Facebook. Put one on Facebook, put one on Twitter, put one on, I don't know, Instagram. Just putting that out there helps the stream. So make sure you guys are doing that because it's really important. And I'm happy. Okay, the quality was better.
Yeah.
That's great. My extender worked then. So I'm just happy that you guys
Yeah.
enjoyed yourself today. We had a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And I'm happy to see more faces. Later
Yes.
seems to be
Love more
better.
faces. Yeah.
So we're happy to see you guys. And make sure you guys share this stream out as well. So other people can catch up on past episodes. I try to put those in the description and link it to both our channels so you guys kind of have like a whole little like template. And if you guys think it's helpful, comment. I mean, if you think it's helpful, I'll put like an introduction in which like kind of like the little table of contents that YouTube lets us put now. So I'll start going through the podcast to try to give you guys like timestamps if that
Mm-hmm.
helps you as well if you want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But once this video is up, make sure you guys comment what your favorite part of this podcast was, this episode, and maybe I'll do a surprise giveaway on my channel whenever I come back. So maybe I'll pick someone random to do something. I've been obsessed with these
Oh,
Funkos.
nice.
They're like Funko soda figures, and they're limited edition. And I'm thinking about giving one away. So comment once this video is posted, but I'm leaving now. So bye, guys. We're
Bye, everyone.
leaving. Bye.
Thanks
Have
for
a
being
wonderful
here. Have a good night.
Have a wonderful night.